704.
Oh,
Yeah, that was my
God.
first. So
I love
that dates it. It was probably relatively new. It was 2007.
We all love the brown
And that's
theme.
when all the browns and tans and yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I think they definitely look.
But
People can meme on what Ubuntu does nowadays with GNOME, but like they've come a long way from the brown. Like,
yeah, they
you
really
may not
have.
like the way it looks now, but can we just admit the brown was not good?
Yeah,
Like,
it was. I mean, that was one of the first things I always did. Of course, coming from the theming idea, right? It's
mm,
like, so I found this Ubuntu thing, and I think I liked the default GNOME interface better. Like,
okay.
that's really, and like honestly, the installer and stuff. I
Mhm.
think at this time maybe I got my own computer, or like my mom was like, "Fine, we got a new computer. You can have that old
Mhm.
one and do whatever you want with it." So I put Ubuntu on it.
Okay.
And but the first thing I'd go do is like go find like in the top menu, go to appearance, go to themes, whatever, like and change out to like one of the clear looks themes. It was different, like GTK2 stuff, good stuff.
Well, just adding things
Um,
for Ubuntu would have been so much easier than whatever you were doing over on Windows.
yeah, oh right,
And
yeah.
then
That's
make
part where I
your
was
own
like, this
themes
is
if you wanted to.
incredible. I
Yeah.
just can click a button, like,
Yeah.
and it's built
Were any
in.
of the
Yeah.
nowadays, like, there are websites that have like giant lists of GTK themes. Were any of those around back then?
Gnomelook.org. Oh yeah, gnomelook.org. And it's still around.
Oh yeah, I know it's still around. I
randomly
wasn't
came
sure it was
across
around
the other
back
day.
then.
Yeah, it was definitely around back then, and it looked pretty much the same. I found it the other day. I was looking for a specific like screenshot of a mock-up,
Yeah.
and like I found the user, an old elementary designer
Mhm.
who I haven't seen for years, and like I found their DeviantArt account and their GnomeLook account because they
Yep.
use the same username, and that reminded me of what their actual name was, and I was like, yeah. But GnomeLook, yeah, it looks exactly the same as it did. That's where we put the first elementary theme. It was on GnomeLook and DeviantArt. Those are the places you would go. DeviantArt, man.
I didn't know if people put.
It's still around too.
Yeah, no, it is still around. Yeah, I didn't know who would put.
It looks totally different.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I didn't know who would put themes like on DeviantArt. I didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah, this was like I think it's this weird like I don't want to call it generational because it's like
Right.
it's shorter than like an actual generation, but it kind of was this like generational thing where like there was this group of like younger kids basically. I mean at the time I was a kid, like who were really getting into this theming thing, getting into this Linux thing, had zero technical knowledge, or at least in my case and a lot of our cases had like zero technical knowledge, but we loved the whole like post a cool mock-up and like throw together a terribly like photoshopped or gimped or inkscaped together like mock-up of an app, like cut off parts of the app and paste them back. We would do all that stuff, and like eventually people would create these SVG templates you could open in Inkscape and like do all these cool things. And that community, at least the bubble I was kind of in, was on DeviantArt. That was like, it's more similar to, and this is probably like not the cool hit place these days anyway, but like Dribble kind of became that of like for like Apple.
What in the
Heard of
world is Dribble?
It's Dribble with 3 B's. Dribbable.
Uh-huh.
I haven't been there for a long time either. 'Cause
Right.
It was kind of like, it's what like I feel like the UI artists people
Okay.
went to after DeviantArt kind of,
Uh-huh.
and like now it's probably like Product Hunt and like I don't know, somewhere else
That's
Somewhere
not a
I'm
space I've ever personally been involved
hanging out
in.
with. Yeah, but it was that like I think the idea is like it really was these people who kind of had this idea for designing something cool or designing something that looked different, and Linux was like an implementation detail for us at the time. It was like that's what just lets us do what we wanted to do.
Right.
Like if I could have done what I wanted to do on Windows at the time, I didn't have any philosophical reason I wanted to do it on Linux. I wasn't there for the philosophical thing. I mean, I watched your video recently about the like kind of the almost shift in like perceptions in the open source community, right?
Yeah,
of
yeah.
like there's some people these days who don't have that hard like, oh, I'm here for the capital F free software.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of when I talk about that generational thing. It was almost that like, I'm not one of the young scrappy kids now, but like I feel like I'm of that kind of era of open source creators.
I hadn't even really thought of it, but like I guess it kind of is a repeat because you were saying that you weren't really there for the philosophical reason. You were there because it was the thing that did the thing you wanted to do, and that's sort of what's happening now with like the Steam Deck, where people are using Linux without thinking like it doesn't matter if it's Linux.
100%.
It could be running Windows, it could be running macOS. Like they just care about the fact that it's running their games and it's doing it well.